What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of
Marvel Snap Deck Building and Ideas with your host, D, also known as MTF Doom. Today, we are going to talk about changes that could or should be made, at least to the battle mode, right? For the health of the game, for the interest of different modes that could be introduced, right? Constructed modes, and hopefully ideas that will spill over into how they think about the matchmaking system, which is perfect and has no flaws at all. I hope you enjoy. So, today, you probably recognize these cards to my right. You probably recognize them. They are pool 0, 1, and 2 cards. We have them all here. Marvel Snap Zone. And we're gonna be talking about the ways in which we can, how do I want to say this? The ways in which we can make matchmaking more equitable, but we're going to talk about it in terms of like what we could do right now, either as a community or just like what could be done with the battle mode to give more options to players, right? So what are the problems with battle mode? Well, one, it's great. Like the idea of it is super, super sick. The thing is, it's really hard to have like an equitable game with someone with a big stream. Like, you know how big streamers will put on these like battle mode nights? Maybe you don't know that, but they'll like invite viewers to come on and play matches and whatever. And that's all really cool. It's like, again, it's good content. Like, I'm really happy for them, but it kind of exacerbates the problems that we already see on the ladder of just like, once you're in pool 3, that's it. You're thrown to the sharks. Like, you have one pool 3 card. Good luck, motherfucker. And that's like not great. So like we can self-regulate this, right? So we see here so what are my, D, you're just complaining? No, I'm not. I have a solution. First solution, we can introduce block constructed, which is something that I just stole from Magic the Gathering. This is the least elegant solution, but I think it's the easiest to implement and the easiest to like mitigate, right? Like, it's really, really easy to figure out if someone's playing a card outside of the cards that you've agreed upon, because it's just based on pools. So basically, I wish in the battle mode that there was like a checkbox that's like, this mode we have agreed will only play decks that include cards from pool. I mean, I'm going to say pool 1. When I say pool 1, what I mean is like all the cards before pool 1 and then into it, right? The pool 0 cards, the intro cards, all those are pool 1. And then like pool 2. And you could do really interesting things, right? So this, you could do some cool stuff of like, well, what if you had to build a deck using only pool 3 cards? Like, because a lot of the cool enablers are in pool 1 and 2, right? Like, how would you build a sacrifice deck without like Bucky Barnes? Bucky Barnes is like quite a good, you don't have Carnage, you don't have Deathlock. Like, can you just rely on Deadpool, Venom? You don't even have Killmonger. All right. So maybe that wouldn't work, but it would at least be interesting, right? Like you could do all kinds of interesting things, and it could shake up the meta. But what's more is that it could like limit the power level in different ways, so that people aren't like just outgunned, right? Like, if I want to play with my friends, like most of my friends are notably lower collection level than me. And like, I can self-limit, but like, wouldn't it be great to just have that option of having a night where you're like on stream and you're just like, okay, tonight we're just gonna play these pools and have it de facto actually enforced by the game rules. Like, we run into this problem in the Penny Dreadful community in Magic the Gathering, where because it isn't an officially sanctioned format, they have to run bots constantly on the ladder, and you have to, like, tag your games as, like, Penny Dreadful League game, and so that the bot will jump in and chat, and then, like, self-regulate. So, like, for you, it'll add another layer of judge on top of the already present digital judge, and it'll, like, call people out and be like, oh, you played an illegal card. That card is not legal in this format. This match is forfeit. And then, like, it won't record those results to the official Penny Dreadful, like, forums, which is, like, all really cool, but it requires so much extra work. And I also don't think that we could even do anything like that, like, externally, like, because there's no, like, I don't know, it might be possible, but it's certainly outside of my purview. And again, I'm just really, like, spitballing ideas that are, like, I think pretty doable by the game designers, by Second Dinner, but which aren't yet implemented, that I would like to see. Because again, I think stuff like this could really also help with matchmaking going forward. Not so much this one, but this next one, which is the idea I like more, would be point matches. So cards in each pool in a point match would have a point value, and you would agree on a total value of your deck, right? And so an example would be like, okay, and the numbers can change, right? We can decide communally what these numbers should be, but the way I'm kind of imagining it would again be pool 0 to 2 would be no points. So if you had a 0-point match, that would be sort of functionally the same as a block constructed, pool 2 game, right? You would only be able to play pool 0, 1, and 2 cards. And if you move that up to a 1-point match, it would be 0 and 2, pool 0 through 2, with a single pool 3 card thrown in. And that could be really cool in, like, how it makes people think about what cards are important to what decks. Because, like, you can't play the death deck in a 1-point match because you need a couple different things from pool 3. But if you get into a 3-point match, you could probably play the death deck, but then it's like, do I want to play that, or do I want to play just a pool 2 deck, a pool 0 through 2 deck that has, like, a pool 5 card in it? Like, is there just a better way to go about building this, you know? And I just love that so much. I think that, while it might create solved game states at some points, which, if you don't know, is it's a point in time where a game has just right answers. Like, there's just a defined meta that is better than what you're doing otherwise. That's possible, but it could still be really fun, right? It's the fun of, like, playing a deck that it's like playing vintage basically in Magic. Basically that those decks don't change very often because they're so, like, the format is so well treaded, and nothing ever really gets functionally added to it, that you're playing them at very, very high level play. And so, like, stuff like this could add moments like that to Marvel Snap, right? Because you could suddenly have this format where it's like, yeah, everyone knows that these are the best decks. It's an open secret. You can find a solved deck list. You should just play X, Y, Z. That's it. But suddenly you're playing on, like, a razor's edge of, like, win percentage, and you're really, like, learning how to outplay your opponents with these solved deck lists. And it's a different experience to what Marvel Snap normally is, but it's in a different way. It is incredibly rewarding, and I don't really think it would be that hard to implement. And that's kind of the other part, is that all of this is stuff that could add so much value without really needing to, like, functionally change much about the game. All right. So then, another example could be if if you want to call pool 0 through 1 free, and then pool 2 costs 1 point, this could make for more interesting and dynamic games, right? Because suddenly a 6-point game could look like exactly the same as before if you're like basically half pool 1 and half pool 2, but it can also look like 9 pool 1 cards and 3 pool 3 cards, which looks, that's a deck that looks a lot different from what we were looking at before with a 0-point game. And then you could do, you know, all these other iterations, 10 pool 1 cards and 2 pool 4s, whatever. But the point is, the downside to this system is that that you would need that sort of Penny Dreadful extra layer of judging going on if it wasn't officially implemented into the game, because you would need someone to confirm that your deck falls within the guidelines. Like, you'd need an impartial third party to agree that both players' decks fell within the point guidelines going into the match. And that's just like a hassle. But again, if they implemented it in official capacity, it would be really easy. It would just be like, here's all the things about your deck. It falls within this. If we're doing a block constructed, it's legal for this. If we're doing a point system, it's legal for that. It's not legal if you're doing this block constructed or this point system or whatever. And that would all be like, you know, that might all be a bit of work if they wanted to implement all of these ideas. But if they just did one, I'd be super, super happy. I think, like I said, that all that would be really good for the community. Like, it would be a very feel-good moment, I think, of people feeling like, oh, I can, like, compete in these events. I can suddenly, like, take part and be a part of this event that I felt very much like I couldn't before, right? Like, I felt like I couldn't compete because I only had, like, enough cards to do what turns out to be, you know, a 2-point deck, right? Because I only have like 2 good pool 3 cards for the deck that I want to play. But if we're playing it by points, well, now my opponent is limited in the same way. And suddenly it feels much more fair. And again, you know, all the people who are like saying that the KM Best thing, like, there's no excuse. Well, like, wouldn't this be kind of a better way to, like, show that? Like, okay, well, if everyone suddenly has the chance to play on an even playing field and people are still not hitting infinite, because of course they wouldn't, like, we're at different skill levels, that's fine. This would at least feel like, oh, well, you know, I could have played better, huh? Like, I didn't just get outmoneyed. I kind of got outplayed, didn't I? And I have to, like, think about this more critically, because it's really easy to create those blind spots when you're just like, oh, I'm scrolling through searching for like a pool 5 bomb, and I realize I have it set to only show pool 1 and 2. But, you know, it's really easy to fall into that, like, oh, like, there's just nothing I could have done, like, my opponent, and what's more is, just so we're clear, it is easier to win. Hint that they don't, the secret that the Illuminati doesn't want you to know, it absolutely is easier to win with a bigger collection. It 100% is, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Just because you can hit infinite with a pool 1 and 2 deck doesn't mean it's easier than hitting it with a Darkhawk deck, okay? Keep it under your hat, my friends. And the point is that, like, it's just a feel bad moment. It's like, it just feels bad when you're like, yeah, I have all the pieces for the Thanos deck, but I don't have Thanos. So, like, when someone beats me with Thanos, I suddenly kind of feel bad. And Thanos isn't even the worst. The other one is Galacticus? I forget his name every time. But that one feels omega bad, because, like, it's just like, is this just a ramp deck or is it a Galactus deck? And if it is, do I have any way of meaningfully interacting with it? You know, I sure hope I have Cosmo in my deck and that I drew it. But anyway, I'm rambling, as I am wont to do. I have been D, also known as MTF Doom. If you find this content elucidating, enlightening, or enriching, which you probably do because you're here 15 minutes into the recording. Oh, we made good time today, friends. Then the best way to let me know is with a like and a subscribe. We are shooting for 1 million subscribers. We are well on the way to getting that number. And I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.